The Pacific Ocean roared beneath me, a churning beast of foam and fury as my car skidded toward the cliff's edge. The brakes were dead, useless as my foot slammed the pedal, the steering wheel trembling in my grip. My heart thundered, drowning out the screech of tires on asphalt. The Monterey coastline blurred past, a cruelly beautiful backdrop to what felt like my final moments. I yanked the emergency brake, the car fishtailing, gravel spitting like shrapnel. With a bone-rattling jolt, it stopped, the front bumper kissing the void, inches from a 200-foot plunge into the sea. I sat there, gasping, my hands welded to the wheel, the engine ticking like a bomb. The dashboard clock blinked 3:47 p.m., May 22, 2025. I was alive, but the question clawed at me, who did this? My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, screen lighting up with a text from an unknown number. Your family's hiding a deadly secret. Trust no one. The words burned into my brain, each syllable a shard of glass. I shoved the phone into my purse, my hands shaking, and forced myself to breathe. Someone had tampered with my car. Someone wanted me dead, and I had a sinking feeling I knew where to start looking. My name is Emily Carter, 35 years old, Chief Operating Officer of Horizon Analytics, a tech empire built on the back of my creation, Quantum Trend, a data analytics system that's reshaped global markets, raking in billions. I'm not just good at my job. I'm a force of nature, a woman who clawed her way to the top despite a family that spent 2 decades trying to bury me. But today wasn't about boardrooms or algorithms. Today was supposed to be my triumph, the grand opening of my coastal estate in Monterey, California, a $10,000 0 cents celebration of everything I'd fought for. A sprawling glass and stone sanctuary perched above the Pacific. It was more than a house. It was proof I'd made it, proof I didn't need them. My mother, Laura Bennett, with her honeyed smile and venomous priorities. My stepfather, Victor Steele, a tech mogul whose ego could eclipse the sun. And Chloe Steele, my 27-year-old stepsister, the golden child who's never had to lift a finger to be adored. They were the ones I'd entrusted with my celebration, handing Laura $10,000, 0 cents to handle the invitations, catering, the works. A mistake, I realized now, as I sat in my car, the ocean's roar mocking my naivety. I stepped out, the wind whipping my hair, and checked the brake lines, sliced clean, just as I'd feared. This wasn't an accident. I called my mechanic, voice steady despite the adrenaline. Get it towed, discreetly. I need answers. Then I rented a car and headed to the estate, the anonymous text replaying in my mind. Deadly secret. My father, Thomas Carter, died when I was 10, his illness a mystery that haunted me. Was that the secret? Or was it something worse? The estate came into view, its sleek lines glinting under the California sun. But as I pulled up, my stomach twisted. Lavender and gold balloons bobbed in the breeze tied to the entrance. A banner stretched across the double doors. Welcome, baby Steele. My grand opening, my moment, had been hijacked. Laura had turned it into a baby shower for Chloe. The betrayal hit like a sucker punch, but I forced my face into a mask of calm, adjusting my navy blazer and smoothing my hair. I was Emily Carter, COO, survivor. I wouldn't let him see me crack. Inside, the air was thick with laughter and clinking glasses. The living room, meant to showcase my triumph, was a pastel nightmare, streamers, gift tables, a towering diaper cake. Laura, in a cream silk dress, flitted among the guests, her smile radiant. Victor, in a tailored gray suit, stood by the bar, his smirk sharp enough to cut glass. And there, lounging on a velvet sofa like a queen, was Chloe, her crimson maternity gown hugging her baby bump, her fiancé Nathan Reed at her side. She was 27, pregnant, and basking in a spotlight that should have been mine. Emily, you made it! Laura's voice cut through the chatter as she spotted me waving like we were best friends. I forced a smile, my pulse hammering. Wouldn't miss it, I said, my tone cool but polite. I handed Chloe a small gift. a generic baby blanket I'd grabbed last minute. Her eyes flickered with something guilt, maybe? She knew. She knew this was supposed to be my day. Thanks, Emily, she murmured, avoiding my gaze. Nathan, oblivious, grinned. Glad you're here, Em. Big day for us. I nodded, my jaw tight. Big day indeed. The party swirled around me, a kaleidoscope of forced cheer. I sipped a sparkling water, scanning the room for allies. My grandparents, Henry and Margaret Carter, stood quietly in the corner, their presence a lifeline. They'd always seen me, even when Laura and Victor hadn't. But before I could reach them, a low groan echoed above, a sickening creak of metal. I looked up just as the massive crystal chandelier swayed, then plummeted. Guests screamed, scattering. I dove aside, the chandelier crashing inches from where I'd stood, glass shattering like a gunshot. Silence followed, then chaos. Is everyone okay? Laura called, her voice shrill. Victor's eyes locked on mine, unreadable. My heart raced. That was no accident. First my car, now this. Someone was targeting me, and they were here. I brushed glass from my sleeve, forcing calm. I'm fine, I said, loud enough for the room to hear. But my mind was spinning. The anonymous text, the brakes, the chandelier, pieces of a puzzle I didn't yet understand. I needed answers, but first, I needed to survive this party. Laura recovered quickly, clapping her hands. Let's not let this ruin the celebration. Everyone, a toast to Chloe and Nathan. Glasses rose, murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. I stayed still, my grip tightening on my glass. Laura's toast was a slap, ignoring my stolen moment, my stolen life. 20 years of this, erased from photos, pushed aside for Chloe, dismissed as irrelevant. It ended today. I stepped forward, snatching the microphone from the DJ stand. The room hushed, eyes turning to me. Laura's smile faltered. Victor's jaw tightened. Chloe shifted uncomfortably. Thank you all for coming, I began, my voice steady but laced with steel. This was supposed to be the grand opening of my estate. I paid $10,000, 0 cents, for this event. But my mother decided Chloe's baby shower was more important. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Laura's face drained of color. Emily, please, she hissed, stepping toward me. I held up a hand, silencing her. No, Laura, I'm done being silenced. For 20 years, I've been pushed aside, but not anymore. Victor moved closer, his voice low and menacing. Stop this, Emily, or you'll regret it. I met his gaze, unflinching. Try me, Victor. The air crackled with tension. I could feel Chloe's stare, Nathan's confusion, the weight of every guest's attention. But I wasn't just fighting for today. I was fighting for the girl I'd been at 15 when Victor stripped me of my sanctuary. Back then, my bedroom was my refuge, its walls lined with my father's journals, leather-bound relics of Thomas Carter, a brilliant scientist whose death at 35 left a void in my world. I was 15, still grieving, when Laura announced, Chloe needs a bigger room. My room, with its view of the Monterey Pines and Thomas's journals, was the only place I felt him. I begged, please don't take this from me. Victor's response was ice cold. Chloe's the future of this family. You're not. The next day, my things were gone, shoved into a cramped guest room. Chloe got my space, my sunlight, my memories. I found Thomas's journals in a storage unit, buried under dust. One, a worn Navy book, had a note in his handwriting. Truth is your shield, Emily. I clutched it, vowing to rise above their neglect. That vow became my armor, but it didn't shield me from the pain of being erased. By 17, I'd earned a spot at MIT, a dream my father would have cheered. But Victor scoffed, a waste of money. Laura, spineless, suggested a local college, citing Chloe's private school costs. I was ready to give up when Henry and Margaret stepped in. We'll cover MIT, Henry said, his voice firm. Your father would have wanted this, Margaret added. Money's only worth what it builds. They gave me a future, and MIT gave me Quantum Trend, a system that turned data into gold, making me indispensable at Horizon Analytics. Now, standing in my hijacked estate, I felt that 15-year-old girl's rage burning through me. But before I could say more, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at it discreetly. A notification from Horizon's security team. Data breach detected. Quantum Trend files compromised. My blood ran cold. Someone had hacked my phone, leaking sensitive data that could tank my career. This wasn't just personal, it was corporate warfare. I pocketed the phone, my mind racing. The brakes, the chandelier, now this. Victor's tech empire had always envied Horizon's success. Was he behind it? I caught his eye across the room, his smirk barely concealed. Then I overheard him, his voice low, speaking to a suited man by the bar. She's a liability. We need her out of Horizon before the merger. Tension coiled in my chest. Victor was plotting to sabotage me at work just as he'd sabotaged my life. I needed to act, but the party was a minefield. Another buzz. This time, a security alert from the estate. System disabled. Unauthorized access detected. I excused myself, slipping to the control room. The screens were dark, the system offline. On the console, a note in Sharpie. You can't hide Emily. My breath caught. An intruder had been here, in my home. I reset the system, my hand steady despite the fear. Back in the main room, the party churned on, oblivious. Laura was gushing over Chloe's gift table, Victor was schmoozing, and Chloe was posing for photos, but the anonymous text echoed, deadly secret. Was it about Thomas's death? His journals hinted at experiments, rivals, a truth he died to protect. Did Victor know? Did Laura? I rejoined the crowd, my grandparents catching my eye. Henry's nod was subtle but firm. We're with you! Margaret's smile warmed me. They were my anchor, the only family that mattered. I'd planned to confront Laura and Victor privately, but the stakes were higher now. The sabotage, the hack, the note. They were closing in. I had to strike first. I raised my glass, voice cutting through the chatter. To Chloe and Nathan, I said, pausing as eyes turned to me. And to the truth, which always finds a way. Laura froze. Victor's hand tightened on his drink. Chloe's smile wavered. The room held its breath, and I knew there was no turning back. The room held its breath as my glass gleamed under the fractured light of the chandelier's wreckage. My words hung in the air like a storm about to break. To Chloe and Nathan, and to the truth, which always finds a way. The Monterey estate, my sanctuary, pulsed with tension. Laura's face was a mask of panic, her cream silk dress suddenly too tight. Victor's knuckles whitened around his tumbler, his smirk gone. Chloe, draped in crimson, shifted on her velvet throne, her eyes darting to Nathan, who looked bewildered. The guests, 40 strangers and a handful of allies, stared, sensing the fuse I'd just lit. I was Emily Carter, Chief Operating Officer of Horizon Analytics, creator of Quantum Trend, and for the first time in 20 years, I was done being invisible. Laura stepped forward, her voice syrupy but sharp. Emily, darling, let's not make a scene. This is Chloe's day. Her words were a plea wrapped in a warning, the same tone she'd used when I was 15, begging to keep my father's journals. I ignored her, my gaze sweeping the room, landing on my grandparents, Henry and Margaret Carter, in the corner. Henry's nod was steel. Margaret's eyes shone with pride. They were my anchor, the only family that had ever truly seen me. I raised the microphone again, my voice cutting through the murmurs. This estate was meant to celebrate my grand opening. I paid $10,000, 0 cents for this event. My money, my dream. But my mother decided Chloe's baby shower mattered more. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A woman in a pearl necklace clutched her glass tighter. A man in a navy blazer whispered to his wife. Laura's smile cracked and Victor's jaw twitched like a predator cornered. Emily, stop! Chloe's fiancé, Nathan Reed, stood, his face flushed with confusion and anger. He was handsome, earnest, a programmer with a promising startup, but clueless about the rot in this family. Why are you doing this? Are you jealous of Chloe? This is her moment. His words stung, but I saw the doubt in his eyes, the flicker of a man sensing he'd been fed lies. Jealous? I laughed, bitter and sharp. Nathan, you don't know the half of it. Ask Chloe why my celebration was stolen. Ask her what she's been hiding. Chloe's hand froze on her baby bump, her crimson gown pooling like blood. She looked away, and Nathan's frown deepened. Before I could press further, Victor surged forward, his gray suit a blur. His hand cracked across my face, the slap echoing like a gunshot. Pain bloomed, hot and sharp, but I didn't flinch. The room erupted, guests shouting, two men in polo shirts grabbing Victor's arms. Lara gasped. Victor? No. Chloe's eyes widened, but she stayed silent, complicit. I touched my cheek, the sting fueling my resolve. You just made this worse, Victor, I said, my voice low but carrying. I'm telling them everything. The crowd leaned in, hungry for the truth. I straightened, channeling every ounce of the girl who'd clawed her way to CO. For 20 years, I've been a shadow in this family. My father, Thomas Carter, died when I was 10, and Laura rebuilt her life around Victor and Chloe, erasing me. My room was taken, my education denied, my place in this family stolen. And now, my own celebration, my home, has been repurposed for Chloe. The room was a powder keg. Nathan turned to Chloe, his voice shaking. Is this true? Did you know this was Emily's event? Chloe's lips parted, but no words came. Her silence was louder than any confession. Laura rushed to my side, her hands fluttering. Emily, please, let's talk privately. This isn't the time. Her eyes begged, but I saw the manipulation, the same tactic she'd used to silence me at 15 when Victor gave my bedroom to Chloe. I'd pleaded then, clutching Thomas's journals, his handwritten notes, my only tether to him. Chloe's the future, Victor had said, dismissing me like trash. I'd found those journals in storage, one with a note in Thomas's elegant script. Truth is your shield, Emily. That truth was my weapon now. No, Laura, I said, stepping back. This is exactly the time. I turned to the crowd, my voice rising. I'm Emily Carter, creator of Quantum Trend, a system that's changed the world. I built this estate with my own success, and I won't let it be stolen. I raised my glass to Henry and Margaret, to my grandparents who funded my MIT education when Victor called it a waste. They believed in me when no one else did. Henry's eyes glistened. Margaret's smile was a beacon. The guests murmured, some nodding, others whispering, but Victor wasn't done. He broke free from the men holding him, his face a mask of rage. Keep talking, Emily, and you're out of this family. No inheritance, no nothing. You'll lose everything. His threat was a blade, but I was forged in stronger fire. There's nothing I want from you, Victor, I shot back. You've taken enough. The air shifted, heavy with anticipation. Henry stepped forward, his presence commanding despite his 70 years. A former Stanford professor, his voice carried the weight of authority. Actually, Victor, I have something to say. The room stilled, every eye on him. 3 months ago, Margaret and I updated our will, our Napa vineyard, our investment portfolio, all our assets. They go to Emily. Laura's face collapsed, her hands flying to her mouth. Dad, what are you talking about? What about Chloe? Her voice cracked, desperate. Margaret joined Henry, her voice calm but cutting. Laura, you abandon Emily for your new family. We're honoring your choice with ours. Chloe has you, Emily has us. The words landed like a guillotine, severing the facade Laura had built. Chloe shot to her feet, her crimson gown swaying. You ruin everything, Emily, she screamed, her voice raw with fury. This was supposed to be my day. She stormed toward the door, guests parting like the Red Sea. Nathan grabbed her arm, his face a storm of confusion. Chloe, wait. Did you use Emily's money for this? What the hell's going on? Shut up, Nathan! Chloe yanked free, tears streaking her mascara. She fled, the door slamming behind her. Nathan stood frozen, then turned to me, his eyes searching. Emily, I didn't know. I swear. I nodded, softening for a moment. I believe you, Nathan. But you need to ask Chloe some hard questions. He hesitated, then followed her, the weight of truth settling on his shoulders. Victor's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding. Enough! Emily, get out! You don't belong here. His words were a king's decree, but this was my kingdom. I stepped closer, my voice steady. You're wrong, Victor. This is my house. I earned it. I paid for it. If anyone's leaving, it's you. His face flushed crimson, his hands trembling with rage. The guests watched, riveted, as the family he'd crafted unraveled. Then, a new danger emerged. My glass of sparkling water, untouched since the chandelier crash, sat on a nearby table. I'd set it down to grab the microphone, but now I noticed a faint sheen on the surface, an oily residue that hadn't been there before. My pulse spiked. I glanced at Victor, who was sipping his bourbon, his eyes locked on me. On instinct, I swapped our glasses, my movements subtle. He didn't notice. Minutes later, as Laura tried to salvage the party with forced cheer, Victor coughed, then clutched his chest. His glass slipped, shattering on the floor. He collapsed, gasping, his face ashen. Poison, he rasped, before losing consciousness. Screams erupted. Guests scrambled. Someone called 911. Laura fell to her knees, sobbing, Victor, no! Chloe, who'd returned just in time, froze, her eyes wide with horror. I stood rooted, my mind racing. My drink had been spiked, meant for me. Switching the glasses had saved my life and exposed a killer. But who? Victor's collapse was no accident. Just like my car's brakes, the chandelier, the hacked phone, the note in my control room, someone wanted me gone, and they were here, in this room. Paramedics burst in, stabilizing Victor as Laura wailed. The guests were herded outside, the party dissolving into chaos. I caught Henry's eye, his expression grim but steady. Margaret squeezed my hand. We're with you, Emily, she whispered. I nodded, my resolve hardening. I was shaken, but I was free. I left the estate with my grandparents, the ocean's roar a distant echo of my liberation. The next morning, Horizon Analytics Board summoned me to an emergency meeting in San Francisco. The data breach from my hacked phone had leaked Quantum Trend's proprietary algorithms, spooking investors. The boardroom, a sleek glass cage overlooking the bay, was a battlefield. Chairman Richard Lang, a silver-haired titan, leaned forward, his voice cold. Emily, this breach happened under your watch. The press is circling, and now this family scandal at your estate. Can you still lead? I met his gaze, my spine steel. The breach was sabotage, Richard. I've already traced the hack to an offshore server. My team's containing it. As for my family, that's personal and irrelevant to my ability to run Horizon. My voice was calm, but inside I was reeling. The scandal, Victor's poisoning, the public slap, was spreading like wildfire. An old colleague, jealous of my rise, had leaked details to the press, painting me as a vengeful daughter. The headline in TechCrunch burned in my mind. Horizon's COO's family feud threatens tech giant's future. Richard's eyes narrowed. Fix this, Emily, or the board will act. The threat was clear. My job, my legacy hung by a thread. Back at my Monterey estate, I found solace in Thomas's journals, now displayed in my study thanks to Henry and Margaret. One entry caught my eye, dated weeks before his death. Victor knows about the prototype. If he gets it, lives will be lost. My breath caught. Thomas had been working on a revolutionary energy system, a secret he died to protect. Was this what Victor wanted hidden? Was it why he was obsessed with controlling my estate, my life? The anonymous text haunted me. Your family's hiding a deadly secret. I dug deeper, cross-referencing Thomas's notes with old Horizon files. A pattern emerged. Victor's tech firm had bid on Thomas's project, then sabotaged it after his death. My car's brakes, the chandelier, the poisoned drink. Were they Victor's attempts to silence me before I uncovered the truth? Days later, a new threat surfaced. My office at Horizon was vandalized, my desk scrawled with "resign or else" in red paint. Security footage showed a hooded figure, unidentifiable. My team tightened security, but the message was clear. The saboteur was closing in. I confided in Charles Warner, Horizon's retiring CEO and my mentor. His weathered face was grim. "Emily, you're a target because you're a threat. Quantum Trend's power scares people. People like Victor. Stay sharp." I nodded, his words grounding me. Charles had seen me through every corporate battle, his belief in me unwavering. "I won't back down, Charles. Not now." 5 years later, I stood at the helm of Horizon Analytics as CEO, succeeding Charles. Quantum Trend had reshaped global markets, its algorithms powering governments and Fortune 500 firms. I'd grace Forbes' cover, named a top innovator under 40, my face beaming beside the headline, "The Woman Who Redefined Tech." My Monterey estate, renovated to my vision, was my sanctuary, its glass walls reflecting the Pacific's endless dance. Weekends were spent with Henry and Margaret, playing chess on the deck, sipping Margaret's lavender tea, their love my greatest treasure. Victor's tech empire crumbled, his outdated strategies exposed by Quantum Trend's dominance. Forced into early retirement, he lost his pension in a corporate restructuring, his pride shattered. Lore's luxury boutique chain collapsed in a market downturn, forcing them to sell their Pacific Heights mansion for a modest condo. Chloe's engagement to Nathan imploded when he uncovered her deceit. She returned to her parents, a single mother struggling to rebuild. I founded the Thomas Carter Innovation Fund, a scholarship for underprivileged tech students, honoring my father's legacy. His journals, now my study's centerpiece, revealed the truth. Victor's sabotage of Thomas's prototype had caused his fatal illness, a corporate conspiracy buried for decades. The anonymous texter, a former colleague of Thomas's, had risked everything to warn me. I ensured their safety, their identity protected. I cut ties with Laura, Victor, and Chloe, finding peace in my chosen family. Henry, Margaret, Charles. Each morning I passed two framed photos in my office. One of me with Thomas and my grandparents, laughing on a Monterey beach. The other of my Horizon team, celebrating Quantum Trend's patent. They were my past and present, proof that blood didn't define me. Success wasn't revenge, it was self-realization. I lived for passion, for curiosity, for the thrill of building something new. As I walked into Horizon's boardroom, the San Francisco skyline glittering below, I smiled. The truth had been my shield, and now it was my sword.